Super Punch-Out is the coolest game that basically doesn't click with me at all. Super Punch-Out is the Super Nintendo's sequel to Punch-Out, which featured Mike Tyson. I wish this game did, but alas. The game also matches the name of Punch-Out's arcade version, although the games are quite different beyond being, boxing games with the same controls and general idea. But Super Punch-Out is an all-out classic, a masterwork of game design, and its focus on precise timing, insane reactions, and long-form pattern recognition are rough on my crusty old bones. As is typical of Nintendo games, Super Punch-Out has had a long history of re-releases, first reappearing as an unlockable on the GameCube version of EA's Fight Night Round 2, alongside its protagonist as an unlockable fighter. It also landed on the Wii's Virtual Console, the 3DS Virtual Console, exclusively for new 3DS units, being a Super Nintendo game and all, the Super Nintendo Classic, and as part of the Switch's Super Nintendo Online service, which means that it is pretty easy to get a hold of. Despite appearances, Super Punch-Out is less a boxing game and more a rhythm game, or even a sorta odd fighting game. Entirely reactive as opposed to proactive, unless you're like a speedrunning cheater who can do all the whatever stuff, but like for normal people. Opponents act and you make do in response. Little Mac, the player character, has a fairly tight number of actions that can be taken. The game's behind-the-back third-person perspective puts opponents on full display, and all the player can do is throw a left or right hook, which lands on the body, a left or right jab to the face, a dodge left or right, and a backstep. And the only other actions you utilize throughout the whole game are blocking by doing nothing to block body shots, or holding up to block the face, and knockout punches, a sort of super move that's unlocked when Mac's momentum bar is full by scoring a lot of hits without taking them, and which mostly serve to upgrade your existing moves. You can turn punches into rapid strike hits, which are a little unreliable but come out pretty quick, although they can be interrupted. And uppercuts and hooks deal a lot of damage, but usually need to be kind of preluded by a standard move. While the options are fairly narrow, the game expects the world of you when it comes to knowing the use case for every single move, by studying your opponents and acting on it. The game's moveset is condensed into an extremely clean and intuitive control scheme, with the left and right punch on one button each, while the D-pad controls everything else. Left and right to dodge, down to backstep, and up being a toggle to switch to jabs instead of body shots. It would have been extremely easy for this game to control terribly. One can really only imagine any number of terrible control schemes, like dodges on left or right, or even the punches. It makes the game pleasant to play, intuitive, and frees you to think about your opponents over how you actually control the game. To get back to my earlier statement, these options can be seen in a way similar to the differing inputs coming down a line in a rhythm game, but they take a different form in that their response is to a much wider and less direct form of input. Each move your opponent uses requires a different response. Some need to be blocked, moves from the left typically need to be dodged right, and backsteps cover sweeping moves that fill the entire screen but are extremely situational. Not to mention, other moves are undodgeable and unblockable and just need to be straight up interrupted with punches. And furthermore, a second time, some opponents have responses to your responses, like counter punches that need to be responded to again by you in a different way. Dodging certain moves instead of blocking them could cause your opponent to perform a switch up and punish, and that punish may also require a unique response, and the web of complexity some of these fights have quickly spirals to a point of madness. It's a game for the insane. People have the reaction time of a fly, those with photographic memories, and the supremely dedicated. I'm insane, but I'm also terrible at everything else. Part of the fun of the game is in its variety. The opponents in the game are pretty broad stereotypes, pretty harmless and silly for the most part, and kinda go off the rails while you're stuck to pretty standard boxing. There are illegal moves all over. The Punch-Out wiki is such a hilarious read because it lists every rule in faction, including stuff that is almost certainly not rule in factions, like saying Nick Bruiser patting himself on the face to center himself is self-harm. Weaponry, headbutts, kicks, elbow drops, each with its own timing and reaction, and as much as it is a lot to juggle, for the most part, it's all reactable. Technically. Fights are won by knockout like boxing, and there's some interesting quirks with the system. 3 knockdowns is a technical knockout, which instantly ends the match, but isn't usually the fastest way. The faster an opponent's knocked down, the harder time they'll have getting getting back up, and the less health they'll have when they do, if at all. This same system applies to you too, so the game heavily incentivizes and rewards being aggressive, and honestly, it's fun and tense as hell. Every action becomes a push to squeeze out every drop of damage you can manage, every hit taken drops a momentum bar that so thoroughly speeds up your ability to knock opponents down, super moves become calculated risks. Despite being fairly simple on all fronts, the game asks the world of you to become more efficient. The cup system also really forces you to get good too, unless you're playing on Switch Online and cheat like a motherfucker, because holy hell, some of those final bosses are really hard. Each cup consists of 4 fights, and after 3 continues, you're going back. I mean, you can earn a few extra with extremely good play, but you're not going to be there on your first try. It's fairly brutal if you suck and have your capture card giving you some delay, but now that I have a splitter, not a concern. But it is a very good opportunity to see how far you've come every time you go back to an old opponent and absolutely decimate them. While I never lost to the first opponent, my attempt was slow, basically a crawl as I waited for him every single time instead of being aggressive. My best attempts weren't even 30 seconds when it came to doing the first opponent again. My skill was growing rapidly and it felt really good. Not to say that I'm good, I'm actually fucking awful at this game. I got decimated by later opponents still, but the progression feels really nice. The game also includes a timer and even a time attack mode, so mastery is very much an intention here. Winning is one thing, but the game knows you can do better, and watching idiots go down fast is so satisfying. It's a damn fun game. It's gonna brutally kick you around. It's at least a little bit memorization dependent on some cheap one-shots no less, and therefore can be a very brutal climb, but hitting the summit is one of the best feelings in the world. That said, I'm pretty bad at it. Worse through my capture card, but that's less of an issue now, and it wears on you pretty hard. It can get painful to get sent back endlessly, and there's a lot of unfair shit. As much as I recognize the greatness, I'm not in love with it. Most fights play out pretty similarly, and I'm far from an expert, so I won't be covering them all, but a few that I thought had standout stuff would include Bear Hugger, the second opponent, who can only be damaged with headshots due to his thick layer of blubber, although he does have one move he does that makes his stomach vulnerable and makes him very vulnerable. Piston Honda, who has a fun attack where he alternates low and high punches quickly that needs to be blocked, and that's a move that'll come back a few times. Mass Muscle, who can spit in your eyes, making the screen dark and turning him into a vague, ghostly presence that makes dodging his attacks much harder, and you can't hit him. Kagero, whose hair attack is very fun to dodge, even if you do have to somehow intuit that the second hit you have to go backwards for. Same action, different reaction, it's a little weird. Narcissus Prince, who needs to be angered with headshots to his pretty boy face to get him angry in order to get more headshots, which do significantly more damage than body shots to him. And also, the champion Nick Bruiser is just a brutal monster who can disable your arms temporarily if you try to interrupt his moves, forcing you to dodge basically everything he throws at you for a small amount of time. Some fights are definitely more fun than others. I really enjoy the rhythms you fall into with some like the Bruiser Brothers, who have this sort of energy throughout of always being on the edge of fucking it up, while also getting the satisfaction of overcoming. There's really only one fight I hate, and it's Hoy Quarlo. All of his moves are so abstract and weird that I never ever felt comfortable even as I managed to get past it. To top off the incredible gameplay is some incredible presentation. To accommodate the game, it kinda had to. Your opponents are immensely and immaculately detailed, with extremely dense animation to give you as much opportunity as possible to respond. Each one has piles of these clear and precise movements that all feature distinct silhouettes to convey as much information as possible and allow you to dodge their variety of attacks. Also clever is max semi-transparency, which ensures that while you can track your own movements, it will only be in blurs while your attention is drawn to what really counts. The characters are also charming in their own right. I'm sure there's some goofy-ass article about how racist the game is on Vice written by a purple-haired obese woman, but it's so over the top and silly with characters like Bear Hugger, a Canadian lumberjack who literally chugs syrup, Mass Muscle, a luchador that spits poison, and Mad Clown, he is what he sounds like. But they're also joined by just genuinely cool-looking dudes. The Bruiser Brothers are like Mr. Clean, but super jacked, like even super jackter. Super Macho Man is a flashy, older, tan, like wrestler who's obviously supposed to be, you know, Randy Savage. And Dragon Chan is just straight up Bruce Lee. There's a very solid pile of distinct and memorable characters all throughout the game that make you excited to push through and see what's next. You could point to the backgrounds as a weaker element, and they technically are, and by backgrounds, of course I mean background, but the game requires a lot of focus, and you're really not going to be watching the stands. They serve their purpose well enough by being non-intrusive or distracting, and set the mood. mood. Everything just works. Music in the game is fairly limited. The fights share their music for the entirety of a cup, which works well enough in context, and keeps the music from being distracting, and every character has their own little intro music too. And the fact that a lot of the characters are voiced by Charles Martinet, the first opponent is literally just his Luigi voice, so charming. What little music there is on the menu and the fighter introductions that play on the info card before the fight is good though. Sporty and energetic with little bits of flair to represent characters specifically. Mad Clowns is bouncy like a carnival but percussiony and fast, Bob Charlie's is a bit more laid back but equally high tempo, and so on. It's a series of small jingles more than a soundtrack, but for what they're worth, they're nice little additional flair for every character. I'm not really sure how to conclude this. Maybe the true Super Punch-Out was the friends we made along the way. I struggled, I raged, and I got good. And as I got good, I liked the game more and more. It's not a game I'm hopelessly in love with, as my friend Grant is, but it's a fantastic game, and I think the next time I play through it, I'll love it a bit more. Not you, Hoy. I'm still gonna hate you. It's an almost impeccably designed game. Not you, Hoy. I hate you. That utilizes every inch of available pixel to create a fascinating game that's intuitive and simple and fast-paced as hell, but is also more than willing to elbow drop your wrists and watch you squirm. It's a fascinating little game, an hour long if you don't completely suck at it, end-to-end sheer gameplay with no filler, just fight, 12 fights and it's over. 16 fights and it's over. I can't do math. I understand the love that everyone has for this game, and hopefully next time I play it, I feel it a hell of a lot more. Also, my friend Grant made a video where he talks about how much he loves this game because he's played it a lot more. You should watch that if you want someone who sucks a lot less. I'll put him in the end card right here.